All right, I've got a bit of a confession. Um, when I first saw this vehicle, I didn't think it was real, but I was wrong. It is. It's very much real, and it's not even I thought it was a concept car. It's actually a real car that's going to ship to people, and admittedly, it's super rare and it's bespoke, and every single one is custom, but this is now really crazy to see in person. This is the Cadillac Celestiq. It's their $350,000 ultra luxury EV. And I think it, even though it is real, it's super limited, and to me it represents the peak of electric vehicles, or at least what Cadillac thinks the peak should be. So I'm going to take a look at what that looks like in person, and then Miles is going to drive it, and we'll see what that feels like. But for now, yeah, this is the absolute apex of what Cadillac is capable of. And you're not seeing things. It is actually shaped like that. It is the second longest vehicle I've ever reviewed. It's 217 inches long, the only longer one being the Cadillac Escalade IQ. Some basic specs. It is a dual motor all-wheel drive EV with a roughly 100 kilowatt hour battery. Like I said, oh, y'all are getting kind of crazy out here. It is a fully electric car. It is $340,000, and it'll get about 300 miles of range. So it's not the biggest battery in the world, but it's not just about the numbers, it's about the experience. This costs as much as a Rolls Royce. This costs as much as a Bentley. This has got to be good. And this is the exact type of vehicle that's meant to go electric and be the quietest, smoothest, best version yet. So yeah, let's just jump inside. It's also 8,000 degrees outside. So I'm very excited to get inside this car. So we'll get past this really nice grille with these really bright DRLs and this massive hood and these huge Pilot Sport EV, what are these, 22-inch wheels? Past the charge port over here on the side into this automatically opening door that, just like the Escalade IQ, has object sensors on the outside, so it throws the door open, but it never hits the car next to you. And then you get in to this all blue interior, put a foot on the brake, the door automatically closes and lights up. The AC turns on because it's hot, and it's blue in here. This is a crazy interior in so many ways, and a lot of it is actually going to be similar to that Escalade, but the more you look around, the more they've taken it to the extreme to be a very high-tech, very luxurious, very soft car, and I like a lot of what I see. Okay, so the first thing that strikes me is obviously you've got this huge screen behind the steering wheel again. It probably is the same part from the Escalade IQ. You've got this second screen over here that polarizes and basically is invisible to me while I'm driving, and then you've got all this stuff in front of me, but it's extra far away now, and it is still a touchscreen. It is still that very responsive software, but now you'll probably be more likely to control it with this little crystal ball over here, since it is kind of far away to be controlling that. You can't even actually do it while driving. It won't let you. So 55 inches of screens, check. Then you've got these AKG speakers all over the cabin. You've got them above you, you've got them next to you, you've got them built into the headrests in the speakers, you've got them down here, you've got woofers, and they support Dolby Surround, and they sound quite good. And there's also great cabin isolation too, so of course you'd expect awesome speakers in a car like this. But then there's more, okay? So you've got this blue steering wheel. You know, whoever spec'd this car clearly really liked blue. Then you've got this second screen in the center here. There's wireless chargers behind, there's the controls here, and you've got a single cup holder, and then you've got these three little silhouettes here that sort of represent some heritage. I imagine there are specific model numbers associated with these, but there's the Celestiq there. Okay, here's another quirk. I'm sure if Doug DeMuro has done a video about this car, he's mentioned this. There's a center console, or a center storage area here, where the left side opens like that. Two USB-C ports in there, great. But the right side slides back. So there's your other cup holder. It's actually spring-loaded to come back closed here, but that's two different opening mechanisms for that there, for your heated armrests to go along with your heated and ventilated seats, which also, like I said, have speakers up here, and even have this, which is, I don't know exactly what it's called. I I'm tempted to name it myself, like the hot breath vent or something like that, but when you have the heated seats on, this will actually blow hot air on the back of your neck, which is, I'm glad they thought of that. That's a crazy feature. Now, everywhere else in the car, there's awesome materials. Like basically everything is leather or this like nice carbon fiber trim here. Other than the piano black, I'm loving the build quality. Even up here, like all of this and this nice strip light here for the mirror. This is all great metal and Alcantara, and it's all blue, and we love the blue, clearly. But something I want to show you in this car is there's a tint button up here, and the tint button lets you control the sunroof in sections. It's actually a zoned electrochromic roof, so I can go clear on just my quadrant of the roof, or just me and let's say the rear passenger. Like there's a lot of versatility here. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference if the sun is right above us, but I could theoretically shade one person and let the other person get some sun. But if I ever want to go all clear or all dark, I have those buttons too. So let's go all clear. Pretty quick. And then all dark turns them all dark, which on a 1,000-degree day like today is probably the way I keep it. I think on a lot of these super limited edition hand-built cars like these, my main concern is usually that it feels so much like a prototype. You might even have things not work very well, but it seems like on this car everything is working well, at least for now. Like the soft closed doors work. These little tiny buttons, while I think that would be terrible in a winter in the Northeast, it is the only way to open the door since there's no handles, but they are working, and it lets you get into this royally blue back seat with the screens back here. And of course I can pull that real quick just to have it close the door for me. Nice soft close. God, there's so much blue in here. This is the most berry interior of all time, but it's comfortable back here. I'm in, 6'3" driving position in front of me. Plenty of leg room here. There's still all the climate controls in the middle. 2 more wireless chargers, 2 more cup holders, 2 HDMI ports for those screens, USB-C ports to charge your phone, storage for days. I mean, this is a car you'd want to be driven in just as much as drive. And then you'll of course notice behind me is the trunk, because this 200-inch long sedan is a hatchback. So the floor is kind of high, and I noticed that if there is stuff in the trunk, it will slide around here, and it could just slide into the cabin if you aren't careful. If you brake really hard, that's kind of interesting. I figured there'd be a barrier here, but in general, plenty of storage, plenty of stuff that you can put back here, especially if you want access to it. If you have like a backpack or something behind you, you can just grab it. So this is a good spot to be, and it's really easy to access, so I'll just show you that too. I think they've thought everything through really well here too. By the way, lots of metal. Lots of metal. It doesn't do the Rolls-Royce dinging, but it is definitely high quality materials. And so let's get back here. You've got this tiny little spoiler, which does actually move because it's automatic, and the logo does the usual Cadillac logo thing and unveils your premiumly manicured hatchback trunk. I kind of love when the detailers do this. It's makes it feel even more expensive. But yeah, the floor is not that low. You've got the charging materials in here, and then this is the whole trunk space that you got. So you do have to lift whatever it is you're putting back here and put it in there. Wow, the license plate fell off. That's so sad. I'm gonna put it back on though. But yeah, so weirdly, I am swayed. I think this car has some nice angles. It obviously has these massive lights and these big sloping aerodynamic shapes. So you can see some of the DNA of the Lyriq and the Escalade IQ in it. But in general, I think the reason that I and a lot of people like the Rolls-Royce Spectre and the Maybach and the crazy big, electric vehicles that just have all the luxury in the world is because it's the best version. The electric version is sick. But that means nothing if it doesn't drive well. So Miles, how does the Peak EV actually drive?
And I have an answer for that, but first, okay, let's drive this thing. On paper, the only car you can really compare this to is the Rolls-Royce Spectres. That's pretty much the only other hyper-customizable, hyper-luxury 4-seater EV in this price bracket. The BMW i7 and Mercedes-Benz EQS aren't quite on this level. When you consider the fact that the Rolls-Royce Spectre starts at about 100 grand more than this car does, the Celestiq is kind of like a bargain in comparison. But the kicker is that there are many things I like about the Rolls-Royce Spectre that this car does a little bit better, if not just as well in some areas, for a lot less money. So first things first, Super Cruise. That's why my hands have been off the wheel, because it's hands-free as long as you're paying attention. Super Cruise is just one of the best assisted driver systems out there in any car. We're not even talking about cars that are fully electric. And compared to what you have in the Rolls-Royce Spectre, the assisted driving features that car offers, this car is just super confidence-inspiring on major interstates like I am right now, or if you're sitting in traffic on a local highway. Those are the areas where Super Cruise shines and just makes my road-going journey a lot more peaceful, a lot less stressful. The car is my chauffeur to an extent. Obviously, there are many moments where you have to take over and always pay attention to the road, obviously. So the suspension, right? GM's magnetic ride system is something that they've put in a boatload of their cars, including like the Corvette. But this version in the Celestiq, it feels different. This is the best riding GM car I've ever driven. It just is. The adaptive dampers are making adjustments up to 1,000 times per second, which is really helping the Celestiq have that floaty, cushiony, soft, pillow-like ride that's very similar to the Rolls-Royce Spectre. One thing where the Spectre still is king is road noise and isolation. This car is still decently noisy on the outside. I'm hearing a lot of the cars next to me that are flying by. That's one area where the Spectre is still king for sure. But it's livable. It's not annoyingly loud, but certainly a little bit louder than I would have hoped for, given how expensive this car is and what the focus of this car is. Now, the Celestiq isn't a V-Series car or a black wing by any sense of the word. In fact, the only V-Series badging you're going to find on this car is the Velocity Max button on the steering wheel, which gives you max power. But this car does share some of the same handling characteristics of a lot of my favorite performance GTs, primarily the Bentley Continental GT. This car reminds me a lot of the Continental GT, particularly the way it takes corners, because just like the Continental GT, it is a chonker. It weighs well over 6,000 pounds, but despite that, it takes corners a lot better than it should, and that's because of the rear axle steering in combination with the adaptive suspension. Now, no one's going to be using the Celestiq to carve canyon roads or go down back roads or set track records, because that's not what this car is for. That's not what it's about. But given how much the car costs, it should be at least good at everything, and that it is. It is pretty fun taking it down a back road, despite how big and long and heavy it is. The Celestiq has 655 horsepower and 646 pound-feet of torque, so it's in like the top 5 most powerful Cadillacs ever made. And the power is certainly there, despite it weighing a ton, but I've noticed that there's a certain finesse and elegance when it comes to how they've calibrated this car for power delivery and acceleration. The Ioniq 5N, for example, has a similar amount of power, around the 600 horsepower mark. And when you floor that car in sport mode, it's super stabby, it throws you into the back of your seat, and there's a fun factor that's attached with that sort of stuff. I mean, I like that sort of stuff, but that's not what this car is. This car is for the big kids, and so when you do put your foot to the floor, it's very smooth and linear and gradual. It really does allow you to feel the horsepower and especially the torque, but in a way that makes it feel very elegant, very classy, a very classy power delivery calibration in this car. I've noticed even the regen paddle, like I'm gonna regen, even the regen paddle is a lot less stabby and aggressive as it is in other GM products. Would I be upset if Cadillac made a version of this car that had like the twin turbo V8 out of the CT6 Blackwing or something like that? No, I would not be upset if they did that. But this version, the electric version, checks all of the boxes you're looking for when it comes to a luxury high performance GT cruiser. From a driving perspective, it does all the Rolls-Royce Spectre stuff and also happens to be more fun to drive for a lot less money. I see that as an absolute win. At the end of the day, this car I'm driving is unobtainium, right? It's 350 grand, and even if you do have the money for it, it'll still be harder to buy than a Rolls-Royce Spectre because you gotta get on the list for it. This is an exclusive, very limited production car. This car that I'm driving is just an idea, effectively, a concept, if you will. But the idea is that hopefully a lot of this tech trickles its way down into cars in the GM portfolio that mere mortals like myself could hopefully afford. at some point. That's what you really want to get out of experiencing or looking at a car like this. But either way, it's pretty sick to drive and a really cool showcase of how if GM really wanted to, they could potentially come for the neck of RR. So that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Cadillac for hooking us up with this car for a couple of days. It's been pretty sick. That's about it. Talk to you guys in the next one. You'll have to pretend that I'm putting my hand over the camera because I am driving.